Hi, Math 3 students. So today we're going to kind of continue our adding and subtracting rational expressions. So in the last odd puzzle, I talked about how when you're adding and subtracting these kinds of expressions, you want to think about like, okay, they all need to have the same bottom. Look at look at the denominator of one guy, think, okay, what does this guy have that the other guy's missing, and vice versa. What does this guy have that the other guy's missing? And essentially, you have to give that guy what he's missing. All right. So for example, all right, if we look here, our first fraction is 1 over x minus 8, and then we've got a plus 2. Now, you're probably like, well, plus 2 isn't a fraction, but you can turn anything into a fraction. 2 is the same as 1 over 2. No, not 1 over 2, 2 over 1, right? So, and basically everything already has a 1 there, right? You could multiply anything by 1. It doesn't really do much. It's just a placeholder, really. So if we look, this guy has an x minus 8, but this guy doesn't have anything. It has a 1, but that's kind of considered nothing. So what we have to do is we have to get this second fraction to have an x minus 8. So I'm going to do that by multiplying the top and the bottom by x minus 8. Okay? Now, when I do that, I have to make sure I distribute. That's incredibly important. Okay? So we end up with our original fraction here, which was 1 over x minus 8. We didn't do anything to him. And then we've got plus, and when we distribute, we get 2x minus 16 all over x minus 8. All right. So now we've got our common denominator, which is x minus 8. And then on top, we've got 1 plus 2x minus 16, which when I combine the like terms on the top, I get 2x minus 15. And that's my answer there. Not too terrible. All right, next one. So there's kind of two ways to view this. I was debating which way to teach it to you guys. I think I'm going to still teach it as two separate terms. So, again, we're going to treat these as if they're fractions. So we have a 5x, but that's like 5x over 1, right? And then we've got our 7, which is the same as just a 7 over 1, okay? So if we're looking at our denominators, we can see, okay, this guy doesn't have anything, this guy doesn't have anything, but this guy's got an x minus 5. So they all need to have an x minus 5. So this first guy I'm going to multiply. Oh, that is way too fat. Let's see. This first guy I'm going to multiply by x minus 5 all over x minus 5. Now, again, you have to distribute. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 5x. So I end up with 5x squared, because it's 5x times x, minus 25. Then on the bottom, I distribute my 1, and I just get x minus 5. All right. Then for my second fraction, I've got this 7 over 1. So again, he just needs an x minus 5 as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute him. So I get 7x minus 35 all over x minus 5. And then we've still got this guy tailing at the end here, which is a minus 2x all over x minus 5. So now at this point, I've got a common denominator across the board. So that's really good. I can go ahead and give my denominator of x minus 5. And on the top, I've got 5x squared minus 25 plus 7x. Ooh, hold on. This should have been a 25x. Oops. Because 5x times negative 5 is going to be negative 25x. I hope you caught that. Oops. Minus 35 minus 2x. Now, remember, you have to make sure you distribute that negative to everything behind that minus sign. In this case, it was just one term, but if there was other terms, you'd have to make sure you distribute. Then at this point, we can just combine like terms here. So we get our 5x squared. And then we've got a minus 25x plus 7. And then we've got, so this guy, and this guy, they're all like terms. So we get negative 25 plus 7 minus 2. And that gives me a, what was a negative 25? So that gives me a minus 20x And then there's nothing to combine with the 35. So we get this, x minus 5. All right. Wonderful. So that would be our answer there. All right. Next problem. Okay, so if we look at this next guy here, this one has an x. This one has an x minus 3. Now, what a lot of people are going to want to do is like, oh, well, they both have x's. This guy just needs a minus 3. But that's not how that works. These are like x is actually a factor, and x minus 3 is actually a factor. So essentially, this first guy needs an x minus 3, and the second guy needs an x. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So we're going to take my first guy. He is missing an x minus 3. So I'm going to multiply him by x minus 3 all over x minus 3. Okay. Now on the bottom, you do not have to FOIL or distribute or anything. It's not that important. But on the top, you do have to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this or FOIL. So I get 3x squared minus 9x plus 5x minus 15, okay? You can combine like terms if you want at this point. You'll still get the same answer. So that gives us that. Now, we've got this second guy. He's missing an x. He's a lot easier. We just multiply the top and the bottom by x. So I end up with 7x all over x minus 3. Okay, now this is addition, so essentially we're just going to be combining like terms. So on the top, we've got 3x squared minus 9x plus 5x minus 15 plus 7x all over x minus 3. So we end up with negative 9 plus 5 plus 7, which is going to give us 3x. Is that guy, and that guy are all like terms, so they can combine. So we end up with 3x squared plus 3x, that's just combining like terms, minus 15, all over x times x minus 3. And that would be our answer there. All right, let's try another one. All right, so looking at this, sometimes too, it helps if you like actually write like, okay, what's my common denominator here? What's going to be my common denominator that I need across the board? Well, my common denominator is going to be x times x minus 9, right? This guy is an x minus 9. This guy is an x. They need both, all right? So this first guy, he's just missing an x. So I'm just going to multiply the top and the bottom by x. So I end up with 2x all over x minus 9. Now, you might be wondering, like, why I put it in this order. This is kind of just like a nice mathy way to write it. If you want, you could write it as x minus 9 times x. That's also acceptable. You could put parentheses around the x. You'll still get the same answer. All right? That's because of that commutative property where the order of multiplication doesn't matter. They're being multiplied. The order doesn't matter. All right. Next one, this second guy here. Now, this is important because this is where the minus signs start kind of becoming confusing. So keep that in mind. He is missing an x minus 9. All right, so I've got a 2 on top here. I've got an x minus 9, x minus 9. I'm going to distribute. Okay, so I get 2x minus 18 all over x minus 9. Okay, now, at this point, all I have to do is subtract on top. But do not forget, this is what everyone's going to mess up on. You have to distribute that negative. So on top right now, because I have a common denominator, I can just combine like terms. So I get minus 2x plus 18, right? Because it was a minus 18. Now it's going to be a plus because we distributed. And then this is all over our common denominator, x times x minus 9. These guys cancel. So our final answer is going to be 18 over x minus 9. All right, next one. All right, so looking at 33, first guy has an x minus 4, second guy has an x plus 8. So if it helps, right, you can write, okay, well, what's my common denominator here? Well, my common denominator is going to be x minus 4 times x plus 8. All right. So this first guy is going to have to be multiplied by x plus 8 all over x plus 8. Now, again, you have to FOIL, right? Because you have to, remember, you have to distribute, but we've got two binomials we're distributing, so that's FOILing. So we end up with 2x squared plus 16x plus 3x plus 24, all right? And then that's all over our common denominator of x minus 4, x plus 8, all right? So this is a lot, all right? You could, at this point, combine like terms if you'd like. It's extra writing, but if it helps kind of make it more concise in your brain, I'm perfectly fine with that. I just combine these two like terms on top. All right. So basically what I've done is I have made this guy have the common denominator that I want. Okay. Now I got to go work on the other guy. Okay. So we got to put a plus sign in between here. And this guy is missing an x minus 4. Now, fortunately, he's going to be a lot easier because we don't have to FOIL on the top. He's only got one term. So he ends up as 3x minus 12 all over x minus 4, x plus 8. And there isn't any simplifying really we can do, so we could just kind of drag him down. So now this fraction looks like this when he has the common denominator. Okay, so now if we look, we've got a common denominator of x minus 4, x plus 8. Again, the order doesn't matter. It could be x plus 8, x minus 4. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add on top. So we get 2x squared plus 19x plus 24. Now, if it was a minus, we'd have to distribute, but it's a plus, so it's just plus 3x minus 12 all over our common denominator. I know it's a lot of writing, but make sure you're taking some good notes. I promise you're not going to regret it. All right, so then when we finally simplify this, we get 2x squared, and then what, 22x, and then 24 minus 12, which is going to be a plus 12, all over our common denominator, x minus 4, x plus 8. Oh my, that was a doozy, right? But we can do it. I have faith in you guys. All right. Next one is our last one, guys. Hang in there. All right, so we can take a look here. What is going to be our common denominator here? Okay, that is going to be x minus 1, x minus 8. All right. So this first guy here is missing an x minus 8. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to multiply him. He needs an x minus 8. So when I do that, I distribute, and I get 5x minus 40 all over x minus 1, x minus 8. Now he's good to go, right? He's got my common denominator that I wanted. So yay, he's good. All right, so now don't forget we've got a minus sign in between these two. Very important. And this guy needs to be multiplied. We've got x all over x minus 8. He needs to be multiplied by x minus 1. So that's what he's missing. And we distribute that. And when we do that, we get x squared minus x all over x minus 8, x minus 1, which again, this is equivalent to that, even though they're in a different order. We're fine. All right, so now we've got our common denominator. This is the tricky part. This is not addition, okay? This is subtraction. So after you get your common denominator, we're going to get it all over one denominator and make sure we distribute. So we've got x minus 1, x minus 8, and we end up with 5x minus 40 minus x squared plus x. Because when you distribute that negative, this becomes negative. That's going to become positive. And then you just combine like terms. So we've got minus x squared. We get 6x. We get a negative 40. And then we get an x minus 1 and an x minus 8. Not 18.